I sold my Retroid Pocket 4 Pro to buy a Retroid Pocket 5. Why did I do that? Well, as you can imagine, I wanted the new thing. I was in it for the hype, and I wanted to have the greatest, the latest. Well, kind of the latest. Really, it came out like 3 months ago, but I mean, I'm kind of a little bit behind the trend, I guess. But I wanted the new Retroid Pocket, and part of it was that screen, that OLED screen, really got me hooked just from the trailers that we were seeing in other people's reviews. But also, I just like the look of it, the ergonomics, the glass screen that goes from edge to edge. And yeah, I sold my Retro Pocket 4 Pro to make it happen because, budget's tight. And plus, in addition to that, I'm running this YouTube channel and I need new devices to review. So I had to make the tough call and wanting this device in my hands sooner rather than later so that I could do an actual review on it, test a bunch of different systems on it. I wanted to make that happen, and that was the fastest way to do that. And the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro is a great console. It really is. I did a 100-hour review on it. I posted that video recently, and I had a lot of good things to say about it. I would have been very happy just keeping this handheld for forever, I guess. I mean, it had all the games I wanted to play on it, and I really liked the form factor of it, and the color was... I like that watermelon color. And you know what? I'm kind of annoyed that they keep putting out these new handhelds because it just means that I'm on to the next one, and I probably should just be more disciplined and be like, I just want to play on this model and it's fine for me. I don't need the new thing, but the new thing comes so often, every single year. I mean, come on, at what point are we going to slow down? Do I regret my decision to sell the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro? Well, kind of a little. But we'll get into that later in this video. First, let me talk a little bit about the selling experience of one of these retro handhelds. Have you ever sold a retro handheld? Because I haven't until now, and I didn't really know what to expect. Like, I didn't know if it would hold up in value, but it actually turns out it kind of does. It's not like a new car that you drive it off the lot and it loses half the price. It's actually better than that. Retro handhelds are a kind of an investment that devalues, I guess, over time, but, whatever. Okay, forget that. Scratch that last part. Not an investment. Don't invest in retro handhelds. Anyway, selling experience. I sold mine on an online platform called Macari. I'm sure you've heard of it. And it was a pretty easy process. I just posted it. I posted some nice pictures, used a nice backdrop. I did my lighting and all that. I really scrubbed it with a micro cloth fiber and made it look nice and put in some footage of, games on it to kind of have in the picture, and yeah, just posted it, and like literally a day later was getting offers. It was like really fast and pretty much got the offer that I was looking for. Although I didn't put the price that high, I kind of wanted to, I guess, give back a little bit to the community, and plus I didn't have all the stuff with it that it came with, like the original box and whatnot, so I probably could have sold it for more, but I was happy with what I got. I figured, hey, someone else is going to enjoy this, and I hope they do, whoever decided to buy that handheld. I mean, as far as packing it goes, I really recommend that when you get a new handheld, you keep that box that it came in with all the little papers and stuff inside it, and the little sleeve and the little insert, because if you ever do want to sell one of your handhelds in the future, it's a really good idea to have that. It just makes it, more professional when you sell it. It makes the buyer more confident that you took care of this thing. So yeah, sold my Retro Pocket 4 Pro and bought myself a Retro Pocket 5. And my first impressions of it, I kind of like it. I mean, I really like it. It's a great device. This device came out like 4-5 months ago, maybe even 6 months ago now. I have to double check on that. And that's like 3 years in retro handheld time. So that's a really long time that this device came out. And I know we've moved on to the Retro Pocket Flip 2 and the Retro Pocket Classic as far as the Retroid devices go. And both those devices look great. I hope to get them eventually, but I just kind of wanted to go with the base model. I figured it would be a really good starting Retroid Pocket 5, and by the time I'm ready for the next ones, they'll probably be onto the Retroid Pocket 6, so probably should have just gone with a new one. Alright, so we're going to get into the setup of this device and compare it to the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro and all that good stuff, but first I want to talk a little bit about my first impressions of the Retroid Pocket 5. Alright, the screen is the most important upgrade from the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro. It's really a game changer. The OLED screen, the colors are so vibrant. When you first turn it on and you go to that like space-like background, you can really get a sense for how black the black colors are. They really are just vivid, or maybe vivid is not the right word, maybe dark. They're so dark, but it's so great to see that contrast between the colors and the dark colors. I'm not an expert on screens by any means, but I can definitely tell when this is a good quality screen and when the colors really make a difference. The console itself feels a little less dense, probably because of these protrusions in the back here, the lumps, if you will. They just are, I guess, hollow, so it kind of gives the whole console kind of a lighter, less dense feel, if you understand what I'm saying. Face buttons are pretty much all the same. They're, yeah, pretty much just all the same, which is great because I like the Retroid Pocket buttons. They're nice. The light up controller sticks, a nice little touch. The RGB lighting around the sticks gives you that futuristic or vibey kind of experience. I don't know. They're cool. I mean, they light up, and you can change the colors and stuff on the settings here, and yeah, it's a cool add-on. I don't know if it's like a game changer for me, that particular piece, and probably more people care about it than I do. I think it's just kind of cool, but I would be fine without it. The sticks are Hall sticks, nice and smooth, feel real great. The shoulder buttons are clicky on the top, and the back shoulder buttons are analog shoulder buttons, so they have that smooth, kind of press to them. And so I know a lot of people like that, but personally I'm not the biggest fan of analog sticks. I just kind of like the clickiness of a clicky shoulder button, but whatever, to each their own. This is not an in-depth review. I will make one later on, I promise, but don't hold me to that promise, just in case I don't. But no, this is, I guess you can call it, my first impressions video. So this is kind of like a brief setup, like a setup debriefing. The actual setup is TBD. Android-based retro handhelds are in many ways easier to set up, but also harder. Easier in that it's essentially a phone, so if you know how to use a phone, you'll be fine. But harder in the sense that these things are never going to come pre-built with your ROM library or anything like that. You kind of have to figure that out on your own. But here's what I did. I went through the basic setup you do every time you set up a Retroid Pocket device. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's one section where you can pre-download some common apps. I usually just skip this, although I found it interesting that they had Pokémo as an option. Have you heard of Pokémo? If not, I highly recommend you check it out. It'll blow your mind. It's an entire Pokemon MMORPG with a surprisingly huge community and an entire economic system and all that MMORPG stuff. I'm thinking about making a whole video on Pokémo, maybe on my Retroid Pocket 5. That would be cool. Anyway, you can use the Retroid front end they have. I just set mine up in the default Android setup because I'm going to do a different kind of front end later on. Again, the plan is to do a full in-depth review later, and I'll do a much more detailed setup there, but for now I'm just throwing on RetroArch, Dolphin, Nether SX2, and I'm using Daidisho because I want to start gaming. And yeah, that's the stuff. I've been playing a lot of PS2, like a lot. I missed out on PS2 growing up. I was always a GameCube kid. So now's the chance to remedy that. I'm working on a video deep dive into my experience playing PS2 on the Retroid Pocket 5. Stay tuned for that. But spoiler alert, it's pretty great. I didn't expect much of a difference from the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro to this, but there's really a noticeable difference. For example, I can actually play SSX3 on a 2x resolution, even a 3x resolution, which is much better than 1x. Like, the game actually looks really good. I'm not gonna pretend it's anything close to something like Horizon Forbidden West, but it definitely looks acceptable for modern standards. Even a 10-year-old Fortnite and Logan Paul Prime Energy addicted kid can play this without complaining too much. And that OLED screen is just the icing on top of the cake. Now, of course, I'm not only going to play PS2 on the Retroid Pocket 5, I'm going to play a lot more. I haven't really gotten the chance to test out much else yet. As I play more games and more systems, I'll produce more content, and eventually I'll make my 100-hour review video on the console, what I think after 100 hours of gameplay. Let's compare this device to the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro. Right off the bat, the Retroid Pocket 5's design has more immediate improvements, like the form factor alone. It is better fit in the hand, especially with these little bumps on the back. Buttons are all pretty much the same. It's not exactly the same, I think, but pretty much the same. The plastic feels great, and that glass panel on the front really gives it a premium feel. And then there's that OLED screen itself. This is truly an upgrade. We all know OLED screens are game changers, but seriously, This is the first time I played a retro handheld with an OLED screen, and the difference is huge. You can really see it in the black colors. It's so crisp and dark and really promotes all those lines and ridges and stuff in your picture. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest, there are some slight concerns about the quality of this thing. I honestly felt that the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro felt better in quality. It was more dense, compact, and felt slightly more premium. Hard to put a finger on it. The 5 doesn't feel cheap, okay, I'm not going to say that, but I can't help to think that some shortcuts maybe have been taken, or maybe less of a focus on the physical build to put more money into that chipset and that screen. For example, if I press down the left side of the glass panel here, I feel an ever so slight amount of give. Not solid like an iPhone screen, for example. Although this could just be one very slight defect of the model that I received. It might not be something that appears on every single device. Also, the right trigger catches a bit when I press it down. Very, very slight, but nonetheless something I've noticed. I feel like I need to be extra careful with this device because one drop on a hard surface and it's toast. Unless you have like a case or screen protector, which I do have a screen protector and I should put that thing on it. Not gonna test this though because, well, I want to keep playing it. Now the question is, do I regret selling my Retroid Pocket 4 Pro to buy the 5? I mean, kind of a little. It played everything I needed. The build quality felt great, better than the 5, honestly. Although the form factor kind of sucked. You could, however, buy a grip for it to improve that, so could have done that. Plus, I grew up kind of attached to the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro. It was my little watermelon handheld, filled with memories of games I played and have yet to play on it. Honestly, if it wasn't for this channel and wanting to test out the new, well, not so new anymore device, I probably wouldn't have sold it. I really honestly liked it a lot. And you can buy them affordably on the secondhand market if you're thinking about getting one. This way, you don't have to worry about those darn tariffs. But if money is no object and you think you want the best Retroid Pocket out there, then yeah, get the 5. Overall, it's better, way better picture quality from that OLED screen, better chipset, and better ergonomics. Plus, the glass covering the entire front is pretty dope. I hope they stop for a little bit though. Sure, the Flip and the Classic are nice alternatives, but give us some time with this device before releasing the 6. Honestly, I complain about how frequently they release these retro handhelds, but then the next one gets announced and it's like a dopamine hit, you know? Like, wow, it looks very similar to these iterations of the handheld, but look at the pretty colors. Then occasionally you'll get something actually different, like the Ambernick SP, and like every company has to make one now, and now there's like 4 of them. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Thanks for watching. I'll make sure to do more content on the Retroid Pocket 5 as I dive deep more into this console. Deep dive more into this console is what I meant to say. Put some real wear and tear into this bad boy, so keep an eye out for that. But you'll probably want to subscribe and then like the video so that you're aware of the content that comes out eventually. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you on the flippity flop.